The crew trenching for a new pipeline north of Denver didn't see the surface indications marking the location of the 6-inch gas pipeline they hit. A spokesman for the agricultural service company whose operator was killed driving a machine that struck a 30-inch gas transmission pipeline included the pipeline company when he said, "Both we and them knew where the pipeline was." According to an engineering and scientific consulting firm, the presence of pipeline markers should have alerted the operator of a front loader killed in an explosion of the existence of the pipeline he hit. Machines don't have vision, and they don't have knowledge. Machines can't make decisions. We have the vision, the knowledge, and the capacity to make decisions. The ghost in the machine is all of us who use machines. Sometimes things just go wrong.
And then I heard a loud sound. I saw a bunch of men just scatter. And I said, hell, they're leaving, I'm leaving.
2 employees of a large natural gas producing company were hospitalized when a bulldozer used to clear a right-of-way damaged a gas pipeline operated by another producing company. What can be done to prevent these producers from hitting each other's pipelines? Are current best practices and available technology not enough?
I oversee some of the operations maintenance of the pipelines, and so obviously the damage prevention plays a bigger role within that group. But then there's other groups that deal with GIS, new technologies regarding locating that they have a role in the damage prevention aspect as well.
It's a wonderful project. It had a hiccup this morning, and that will happen. I would assume I can't guarantee it won't happen again.
The Newark mayor can't guarantee it because it happened before, on June 16th. On this day, hundreds of people downtown were evacuated when the gas pipe was damaged by crews working to replace aging water and sewer pipes. For this daycare center supervisor, the day got off to a rough start.
A parent came in and said that he was smelling gas in the parking lot.
I just got a call at work saying that there was a gas leak and they had to evacuate the premises. I trust these guys pretty well, but I just wanted to get here as soon as possible.
The supervisor wasn't so trusting. She asked the construction worker who hit the 2-inch pipe if they needed to evacuate the center. He told her not to evacuate because he had already called the gas company. But she called the gas company anyway because she was concerned. Why did Norman emergency responders evacuate such a large area following this gas line strike, but a construction worker in Layton said the children didn't need to leave the premises? It's not easy to say why, but it's important to note that the Layton construction worker said he had called the gas company, not that he had called 911. The contractor that hit this pipe described the release as a major leak. Federal law enacted in 2006 requires excavators to call 911 after hitting a pipe, which results in the release of a hazardous material. This is the law in many states as well. Who is the most likely to come to a scene of a major leak the quickest? Emergency responders or the gas company? Who has the capacity to respond in greater numbers? Emergency responders or the gas company? Our nation's gas companies and pipeline companies cannot prevent every dig-in. but they have gone to great lengths to develop outstanding relationships with local emergency responders for a reason: for the protection of the excavator and the public when something goes wrong.
Whether it's developing widgets, developing best practices, helping write standards and codes, we can only do it as much as it's being allowed or embraced by the regulatory agencies, whether it be on a state basis or on a federal basis.
According to the Oklahoma City Fire Department, a contractor struck a 2-inch gas line in a rear easement while digging for a new pool. 3 homes were evacuated by the fire department, while a dozen more homes were checked for the presence of gas. North of the border, where there are fewer swimming pools to dig, 2 apartment buildings with nearly 100 residents were evacuated after a gas line was hit during a demolition project. While emergency responders didn't have a problem knowing what to do, including diverting traffic around the area of the leak, they stepped into a bit of a verbal communication snafu.
You're not going in my car. I just want to get you off the street. Okay?
I'm upset. I just wanted to walk home. I walked in the store and I just want to walk back.
Contractors were cutting concrete, doing repairs to the road, and severed a 12-inch high-pressure main. This gas leak is going to take a while to stop.
Emergency responders evacuated 50 homes near the blowing gas line. One of the fastest ways for leaking gas to become an existing hazard occurs when it travels through sewer pipes. Until the outer limits of gas migration have been determined, the potential for danger cannot be clearly defined. That's why firefighters went door to door to evacuate 40 residents in the 2-block radius from where a contractor damaged a 6-inch gas main while performing concrete work.
We had an environmental driller putting in an environmental monitoring well, struck a gas utility.
Suddenly confronted with the sound of rushing gas, the crew ran from the drilling rig before the wind shifted direction and a thunderous explosion ushered in 30-foot-high flames. Overhead electric lines melted in the flames, cutting power for a large area, including the county courthouse. No explosions here, but 6,100 people did lose their power on this Friday afternoon as a result of the second-party damage along the Milwaukee-Wauwatosa border. The contractor was replacing gas lines for the gas and electric company when the damage occurred.
The utilities are putting in a lot of lines today, and that goes along with the gas industry too. There's a lot of aging infrastructures. They're putting in, replacing that those old gas lines at a record pace.
It's a very hard thing to catch up on if you make the wrong decision on that. And that's exactly what we had here today, was an evacuation that was premised largely on that precautionary need.
This morning, explosion, enough to rock the police station. We felt it. There was nobody in there. Nothing was left on.
A contractor renewing gas lines for the gas company struck a gas line, causing an almost immediate explosion at a building housing a law office and an apartment above. The resident of the apartment was a local volunteer fireman.
I'm the one usually on the truck, and now I'm the one standing behind the line. You try to act all strong. I just keep thinking about it.
Monitoring local social media reveals that some PENNSVILLE residents are nervous about the renewal project, which picked back up again after going on hiatus for about a month following the explosion. It seems the soon-to-be-replaced gas line that was hit in PENNSVILLE was not marked, and residents worry about the potential for future errors.
You look at some of the good utilities out there that are kind of setting the bar high, using either contract employees or their own employees to go out there and observe some of the excavations going on around their utility lines. There's some utility companies that have better practices than others, and the same goes for these contractors that are working for the utilities. Some of these contractors have very good practices, and a lot of it depends on the contracts that they're working under. Do those contracts that they're working under for the utility allow for those practices to exist and for those contractors to be paid for those good practices, to understand what's out there before they start digging, including digging up their own gas facilities.
Holy crap. Oh my God, this is so freaking hot. Oh my God. Oh my God.
The Fresno County Sheriff's Office retained the Fresno County Public Works Department to reestablish and widen an existing access road which had eroded, and to build up access ramps on the east and west side of the access road.
This afternoon at about 2:30 in northern Fresno County, there was an explosion at the Sheriff's Office shooting range. The explosion was as a result of a natural gas line at that location. There was a county public works employee operating the front loader. He was blown away from the front loader. There were 7 inmate workers were injured. We had a total of 3 additional inmates there that were not injured. They were taken back to jail.
One of the 7 injured Fresno County jail inmate workers died, while a total of 12 individuals were injured in this accident. Included in the injured were 2 sheriff deputies. The operator of the front loader received burns over 40% of his body. A lawsuit filed by the operator claimed that he was directed to take part in an ultra-hazardous activity on property where the county knew a gas line was buried without inspecting the property, ensuring claimant safety, and calling 811. Later in the year, Cal OSHA issued to Fresno County total fines of just over $100,000 pertaining to 4 serious violations and 1 general violation. Totaling just $1,125, the general violation stated a failure to call the Dig Alert 811 phone number to find out if there were underground utilities in the project's vicinity. When things go wrong, the ghost in the machine is sometimes defiant, sometimes accusatory, sometimes befuddled or confused, but sometimes very, very remorseful.
I was sitting here when the phone rang and a crewman said, "The guys are on the way to the hospital." And when I got to the scene, there were flames shooting about 40 feet higher than the top of that building. The whole thing was engulfed in flames. I just had visions of 36 years of work and going right down the drain. My thought was, I may be out of business with this. Do I have enough insurance? God, what's happening?
A contracting company hired to use a ripper hit a 30-inch transmission gas pipeline while working in a farmer's field, resulting in the death of the operator. The leaking gas ignited and burned down a home located near the pipeline damage. 2 women were severely injured in the blaze.
As far as I know, it was a ripping instrument Caterpillar. They were preparing the ground for almonds, and they deep rip about, I believe, 6 or 7 feet.
The contracting company's 811 ticket for their work expired several days before the explosion. California law states that excavators' tickets shall remain valid for not more than 28 calendar days from the date of issuance, and after that date shall require Regional Notification Center revalidation. No revalidation was submitted by the contracting company. The contracting company contends the ticket expiration played no role in the incident, as they were never contacted by the pipeline company while the ticket was valid. There have been previous incidents involving the 2 companies. In October of 2014, the contracting company hit the same pipeline about a mile away from the 2015 incident. In May of 2015, the California Public Utility Commission's Safety and Enforcement Division issued to the pipeline company a notice of probable violation for failing to mark the pipeline in 2014 and not having an employee on site to oversee the excavation. The pipeline company is appealing that ruling.
And the phone rang, and it was the police chief, and he says, "We want you to come back down to the station right away." He ushered me into a little room, small room, said, "Sit here," and he introduced me to the district attorney, assistant district attorney, and the OSHA investigator, and the fire is still going on. They wanted to know about the experience of the operator, what kind of special training he may have had, was Digger's hotline called, if we had regular safety meetings, Well, then I got another call on my telephone, says come back to the police chief's office. And he ushered me into his office, and he said, sit down. He said, we just found our first body, and we think there's more.
There's been a lot of change in damage prevention attitude and execution since 1992, when Digging Dangers introduced Don McCoy to the excavating and utility world. But nearly a quarter of a century later, the ghost in the machine that was with McCoy is still with us today. We produce this product so that perhaps for a moment you'll be able to place yourself in the mind and spirit of those that have suffered misfortune. It is our hope that this is the closest you'll ever be to this type of ghost in the machine.
Today we're attempting to pull back 600 feet of 2-inch coil pipe. As you see down below, we have our tracer wire connected onto it, and there we go. Just a little bit of issues. There's a lot of sand out here, so you gotta just take extra precautions. Other than that, just putting pipe in the ground. You're gonna run into challenges, whether it's tree roots you run into or whatever. I've walked the streets in the middle of the night in the Philippines, Thailand, when I was over in the Gulf War. Tell you what, I come back here, it doesn't bother me. Other than that, I enjoy what I do. Getting the pipe in the ground, put it together, doing good work, and making the company money.